to no avail.
Okay, we're recording now.
Okay. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? And you got it this time, Clay, right?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so that would be no. Anybody else present that would like to speak?
Just to knock this out at the beginning, I just wanted to,
Okay,
I've probably done this like 3 emails now, but now that I've seen you guys in quasi face-to-face, I wanted to apologize for the calendar snafu that caused us to reschedule this meeting. I spoke with Rebecca about it, and I just want everybody to know that's never going to happen again. We'll continue to meet regularly, and we'll be good going forward.
Matt, no more mea culpas. I was just as guilty as you were, so let's just move on. Okay, so is there anybody else present? I don't think so. Let's see, participants.
Nope.
No. Okay, so nobody's speaking. Does anybody, did you have time to read the minutes from the meeting on the 3rd of February? God, I've been on Zoom since 9 o'clock this morning. I apologize. My mouth isn't working.
I did, and I didn't see anything that I didn't agree with.
Okay.
Same here. I move to approve.
I'll second.
Excellent. Approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a memoriam for Dick Bratton, because he was a mentor and a friend of Green Mountain Falls Trails, and no committee with trails in its name should allow his passing to go unacknowledged. Our trail system would not be in existence without Dick. He made our trails safe and sustainable, which will be one of his many legacies to Green Mountain Falls. That's what I would like to say about Dick. If anyone else has anything else to say, please do.
He was a pillar in our community, and he did lots for the community. He gave a lot of himself.
He did.
Although I butted heads with Dick over the years, I have a lot of respect for the man for what he accomplished and what he did. And he will be missed. Is there going to be a memorial for him, Rebecca?
I have no knowledge of any of that yet. I just didn't want this meeting to go without acknowledging him, because he would have been here if he was alive.
Right. And I agree. Such a loss for every committee, for every area of good work that he was involved in. Yeah, I've already thought about reaching and picking up the phone to call him about something, and it's just so hard to imagine that he's not there. I hope that he made a loop around the trails and through the Garden of Eden on his way out of town, and that is the way that I am thinking about remembering him. I've heard that his sister is thinking about having a memorial service sometime in the spring. I know that Reverend Darlene is interested in getting with them and doing something community-based, hopefully outdoors, maybe at Mountain Road Corner. And I suspect that there will be lots of people thinking about ways that we can honor him. I did think as we're discussing the signage and parking, and there's been discussion about that virtual trailhead, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for that to be the Bratton Welcome Center. That was just a thought that I had. I know there will be others going forward, but I think that our group should definitely be thinking of ways to honor him like that.
I like that idea a lot. Dawn, anything?
I'm on board with whatever you guys like to do. I'm just a little bit sad about the whole situation. Just trying to come to the grips with the reality of it.
As we all are. Okay, thank you for your words. Next on the agenda is election of officers. Goody is not going to show up again. And as vice chair, I have not been that well lately, and I apologize for that. But so I think I need to resign this place that I have, and I still want to be on the committee, but we need to elect a new chair and vice chair. So I'll let the three of you wrestle.
You know, just a thought here. I don't know if everyone has already reviewed Jay's application, but he seems to be very well versed and qualified. Assuming that we decide in the next few minutes to bring him on board as our 5th member, I wonder if we might not want to gauge his interest. And you know, if we did that, maybe we push this election of officers to the next meeting. I'm happy to facilitate that, Rebecca, if you're not feeling up to it, although you're doing a great job.
Jay is here if you'd like to comment.
Okay, so if
Drop me straight in.
do we need to discuss Jay's application? Because he's super.
I was thinking it might be good to
Thank
maybe
you.
flip those 2 agenda items if that's something we'd like to entertain.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, if you have any questions for me, I've been a Green Mountain Falls resident for about 8 years. I do some work with the Trails Committee, and I'm familiar with, my kids grew up in Woodland, and I worked with volunteer organizations that supported them, so I'm familiar with the recreational side of things, although I've never used the town pool, for example, but around town a bit. And I will be around a good deal more coming forward. So, any questions, anybody?
Jay, do you work full time? What is your availability like for being around?
Right now, I am working, but my retirement is scheduled for 2nd of June this year. So I will be more accessible than previously. That's always been a problem for me. I've been an engineer for a number of years, and things tend to go, sometimes things get really complicated at work. So I expect about 2 to 3 more months, and then I'm clear. Anything else anybody wants to ask or consider?
Any other questions for Jay? I have worked with Jay, so I know he's a hard-working kind of guy on the trails.
So have I.
Quick question.
Sure.
Just procedurally speaking, this is for essentially the whole committee. If we are going to flip those 2 agenda items, could we get a motion to do that? Essentially correct the agenda to flip those?
Good point.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion to flip those 2 items, 6 and 7.
I second.
That. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
So it would.
Are there any objections to Jay Kita being,
Yeah, I think you do need to, motion, you got to have a vote on it then.
okay?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we accept Jay as a member of the committee.
I'll second.
I agree.
Okay.
Don, I would love to vote by thumbs up.
Okay.
Jay, I
All right.
apologize. This is Clay. My camera is broken, so that's why you can't see my face here.
I didn't mind turning my camera on because I had a haircut this morning and I would have looked pretty disheveled.
And this,
Um,
sorry, this is Diani. So I think just procedurally, the actual acceptance onto the committee has to be done at a Board of Trustee meeting. So that would likely come up if, the recommendation is to bring you onto the board, if that's the PRT's recommendation, then that would have to be brought up for a vote at the next trustee meeting.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine.
I thought we
Just
had,
oh, everybody.
I had a different understanding of that, but I'll yield to your knowledge if that's what you think.
Just to double check too, Deani, we could do both today and make both recommendations to the board. Like say Jay was interested in being the chair, we could recommend him both as a member and the chair at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And
Okay. For the record, I wouldn't mind, I would be happy to do the chairman's job. I haven't done as much for the town as a lot of other people, so I think it's about time to step up. I would need a little bit of training wheels, though, Mark, if you can keep me up to date on that. I was familiar with the Trails Committee, and there's certainly things on this agenda that I don't know much about, so I'll have to defer or follow in if I do get accepted by the town trustees. So right now I'll just listen in and try to make sure I've got some background.
So it sounds like we have a motion and a second for Jay's member application.
Yes.
So you want to call for a vote, Rebecca?
Yes. Are we voting for Jay Kita to be on the PRT committee? Is that the
Yes.
vote?
Yep.
Yes. Then
Yes.
I motion that Jay Kita be accepted by the PRT committee to be on board pending the Board of Trustees approval.
Good.
I vote aye.
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 Hey, it's unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, next, election of officers. Chair and vice chair. I motion that Jesse Stroop be the chair of this committee.
We'll second that motion.
I would third that one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Jesse, would you accept the position?
I will, and I appreciate that. I'd like to hear Jay speak because he obviously would like to have the position as well.
Oh. I'd be happy, Jesse, if I was just presented with the, you should join and get involved. I'd be happy to serve as vice chairman if approved, and that would mitigate that circumstance that I sketched, where I'm unfamiliar with the group's, with the full range of things that the group is responsible for. So I could help out. As I said, I feel it's time to contribute a little bit. I'd be happy to contribute in any category. So being vice chairman to you would be a useful role, and be happy to carry that out.
I appreciate that, and with me being, I travel frequently, and I'll need some help. So with a strong chair, I am happy to accept a position.
Okay, that'd be good.
So do we vote?
Yes, so it sounds like we have one motion on the floor with a second and a third for Jesse to be the chair. We could vote on that, and then someone could motion to have Jay as the vice chair, and we could vote on that.
We'll amend that motion to add Jay as the vice chair.
Second,
I'll second that. Yes, aye.
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 Great. Welcome, Jay. Well, before approval, but I'm sure we'll get you approved, man. Welcome.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And Matt, can we just make sure that his application gets into the next BOT packet? I
Yes,
just try and encourage
1,000%.
delays.
Yes,
Yeah, and I don't want there to be any delays with him getting a vote.
Definitively.
totally agree.
No.
Got a little quiet there all of a sudden.
It looks like maybe Rebecca is frozen.
Well, if you guys want, I could push forward if you guys want.
That'd be great.
Okay, so just finished up elections, a chair and vice chair. Old business, annual plan and yearly goals. A little bit of background on this. The mayor and the board were through Angie requested just a short blurb describing the annual plan for the committee. From what I understand, typically a chair or vice chair puts that together. It doesn't have to be crazy long, but could be as simple as like a letter to the board with a bullet pointed list of projects and the plans for those going forward. They're requesting to have that on the next board meeting. Typically, annual plans are supposed to be done by the first meeting in January. But from what I understand, there's a whole slew of issues that existed before I even got here that stopped that from happening, and we can't do anything about that. So what I'd like to do is request that the board put together whatever their annual plan or their annual priorities were from our previous discussions and put those in a letter that I could submit to the board on the next meeting on 3/2.
We'd started discussing the letter or the projects that I had written down back at the end of last year, and we never have had any real meetings where we've addressed any of the issues that we addressed when we first started going. So I think we've got somewhat of a plan that we started through, but we've never really addressed it other than that one meeting. Do you agree, Rebecca?
Clay, I think Rebecca's actually.
Rebecca's
I don't-
muted. Okay.
I can't tell if she's still in the call or not, or if she's having issues.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Oh,
Okay,
there we
we
go.
did not, yeah, I am having connection issues. We did not finish our plan and yearly goals. We did not yet discuss the issues involving trails, maps, ambassadors. We still need to discuss that, to add that to our annual plan and goals.
So does this committee think it's realistic to have something like that one-page document done before 3/2, or should I report back? We're still in discussions, and that we will have it at the meeting, whatever that is, this third week in March, if we end up having one.
I personally would vote on the third week in March because we were delayed by doing the long video that we had to do the last time. So we can probably finish it up today and next week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we can at least agree on the list to get it going.
Right, right.
So if I remember correctly, Rebecca, you presented a list in conjunction with Clay's that had a lot of Clay's work in it, and we reviewed your list and had about the second half of Clay's to finish reviewing. So I think if we could continue our review today and complete all the items on Clay's list, if anyone has that available. Maybe we could task, maybe we could task 2 members to draft that and have it ready for us to look at the next PRT meeting.
Yes, I think
I
that's
can work on
reasonable.
that with you, Rebecca.
Excellent. I'll get with you on it. So what
We
I
can,
had was
take the-
maps and ambassadors, and you had another trail you wanted to make.
Just, you know, just a lot of
I think
different
I can take that.
ideas, trying to get some ideas what we can do. And as well as trying to get, you know, the trail maps are a real big issue, and the exact
Find that
property
again.
owners are issues. We can review it. I think if anybody's got anything else that they want to make sure is in there, to send it to either Rebecca or I. And, oh, there we go.
Took me a sec, sorry.
And then I think Rebecca had reworked this. Is that not correct, Rebecca? You
Yeah, I had a
reworked
nice
this and made it-
list. I just need to dig it up.
Yeah, that list there is the one that had a lot of it, and then you added 3 or 4 or 5 items to that, Rebecca, if I remember correctly.
Let's hold on. Let him finish scrolling here. Hiker parking. Turning around the trails map. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And you added, there was another trail that you wanted to make down by the playground, I believe.
Yeah, if we clean up the creek down there, it'd be real easy just to make a trail from where the swing set are now that went over to the start of the new trail going up Red Devil. I mean, it's pretty much there. The brush just needs cleaned out.
Okay. Clean brush. So what we really need to do is, as far as my understanding is to make sure the trails are on Green Mountain Falls property, or we have permission to use trailheads that are on National Forest property. And we need to really figure out how to get some maps going. That's really high on my agenda.
I agree. So I think when we reviewed Clay's list last time, we got down to item number 11, which was dead tree removal. And I don't think that we ever talked through the remainder of his list.
We did not.
The good news looking at this list is that we've already addressed several of these items. So that's good. And dead tree removal, I think, is one of them that we'll be talking about later tonight or today. So if we look at number 12, repair the lake wall at Hotel Street and the handicap fishing deck, it seems like in the grant request that we reviewed in the meeting packet, that the town has submitted for a grant to do that work. I'm not sure what we would do. I think we made an advisory statement on that, but I don't know that there's anything left for us to do until the funds are approved.
I agree.
Yep.
Landscaping at Town Hall, the sprinkler system, watering trees, shrubs, flowers, and grass, all seems like something that needs to be done. I don't know where that will land on our priority list, but I think that that's what Rebecca and Clay will be working on. Is that correct? You all will prioritize this.
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments about that? I mean, I will say that it is rather disappointing to pull up to Town Hall and see, not that it's been neglected, but that it just didn't seem complete. That
It was short.
was not done.
Yeah.
At a minimum, we could maintain the weeds, but I think that a landscape installation would be really nice, and I wouldn't mind proposing one, but I'll let you all put that on the priority list wherever you see fit.
You know, I guess on this list, I have questions about, okay, we can come up with a list of projects. Some of them are going to be bigger ones that are harder and need funding, and some of them are going to be smaller ones that we can accomplish through work days with community involvement to get them done. So the way I see this list is a proposal of all of the projects that we feel need to be done, the ones that we need, and then if the town agrees with us, they can give us, say, okay, we agree with projects 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, and 10. We can, that won't need funding, that we can do through work days. And then the funding projects, if the town agrees with them there, are they going to help us with funding? How are we going to get funding for any of these projects? I can see it, you know, in a couple of different ways. How are you guys looking at this list? Is it going to be, go ahead. Hey, Matt.
So I just had a quick comment in relation to what you're asking. I had mentioned this in my quick remarks when we first started talking about the annual plan, but as I understand it, you typically start your annual plan process in the previous year. And so when you're going through the budget line items and setting budget lines, timing up the annual plan process with the budget creation allows you to request specific line items to increase or decrease.
Do we have a budget right now?
That's a great question I don't know the answer to, but I can look up.
Can you find that out?
Yes.
And then the other question is, what will we be able to rely on the town for some maintenance issues? And historically, the town has always maintained the parks, mowing, making sure they're being sprinkled. Is that something that we're going to be able to look for the town for? Or are we going to have to go out and get somebody, hire somebody else to maintain the town parks, which I feel is something that the town should be doing, and they've just neglected to do it for years.
So
Can you ask if we're going to have a budget and town help, I guess is the two real questions.
if I can say, Deani, maybe you can answer. I view us as more of an advisory committee where we are making recommendations to the Board of Trustees about what needs to happen. And they're dealing with it with budgets. I don't see, you know, I feel like we are getting estimates. We're working with vendors. We are making recommendations about things that aren't happening, but I don't think I think, Clay, that we really don't have the authority to do anything other than make recommendations.
That is correct. But in the sense of a budget line item, having the recommendation to spend money on a line item is definitely beneficial for this committee. And so I think that's along the lines of setting the goals. You can make the recommendation, so we need to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how much it's going to cost. And
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
And I will say also that, the trustees, they're looking at the budget as an overall picture. So if there is a strong recommendation to get a certain project done and it's a high priority, then, the trustees as well as the PRT committee can look at, okay, if we need to try and get more funding for this particular project, are there certain grant proposals that we can all work on and try and push forward to get it done if it's something that's really needed?
Perfect. I think that gives us a lot of direction, and really we can accomplish a lot of things on this list where we're putting together a plan, an action plan, and presenting it to the board and getting some good estimates for them. So thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, Rebecca, do you want to have a phone call and we can go through this list here in the next couple weeks before I guess our next meeting. When do we need to have this list done again by?
They were requesting by 3/2 next Tuesday.
3/2.
Yep. But
Next Tuesday.
I want us to be represented well. So if we don't have exactly what we want, I would rather we waited and make sure we're presenting exactly what we're trying to do. And I'll take the heat from the board for that one, but I want to make sure you guys are taken care of.
And I can clarify to them as well.
Yeah. So I would like to continue then going through Clay's list. We only have a few items left so that we've discussed everything as a group before Rebecca and Clay draft our goals, and then we approve them at the next meeting.
That sounds great.
Works for me.
So next on the list is rodent control in the parks for gophers and goose control. I know that we've talked the last couple of meetings about the goose abatement, and I've made a recommendation there that is later on in the agenda for us to talk about today. I did want to make a comment about rodents in the parks. Down at Mountain Road Corner, we just lost 3 of our signature trees on the property. And I had Michael Tillman, who's from the forestry department, come down and have a look at the trees to find out what caused their death, whether it was beetles or lack of watering. We do have those on an irrigation system. And I was a bit surprised to hear the answer that we had voles eating the roots of those trees, which ultimately led to us losing those 3 trees. So, I always thought that rodents were a pest because they were digging holes and messing with the lawn, but I was not aware that they could create such damage to the trees. And so I think that was just a comment I wanted to make. And Clay, I think you had a lot to say about the rodents.
The gophers dig holes and pile up dirt, and they really screw up the grass. That's what they live on, are the roots. So if the town agrees, I have the traps, and I would be happy to start trapping them around the parks and get rid of them. But it's just something that's not an easy process. It takes time, and you just have to go around and look for where you see the new dirt and then find their tunnels and trap them to get them out of there. So it's something that I would take on as long as the town says it's okay and they agree with what we would be doing.
What is the human danger? I don't know anything about a live trap for them. What is the human danger for that?
The trap is buried in their tunnels underground. And what you do is you find their tunnel where they're going back and forth. You install these small traps in there, and then you cover them up with a board so it's dark like a tunnel. They're never exposed. They're not like a leg trap that you step in and it slaps shut on your leg. It's a small, they're not that kind of trap. They're not dangerous at all to people. I mean, I shouldn't say not. There's always a possibility, but they're nothing. You couldn't step in one and get it around your foot the way that they close shut. They're the gopher traps. But I don't feel that there's a hazard with any of them to people that would be, you know, for them to step in them.
Are those more effective than chemicals or pellets? What are the pros and cons, I guess?
I've never liked chemicals. I've always just trapped them. And instead of putting a bunch of poison in the ground, because poison's indiscriminate, anything that eats it kills it. They kill, you know, so you could be getting a lot of different things with a gopher trap. The only thing you're going to catch is what's crawling through that tunnel and what you set your trap for.
I happen to know that there's, you know, a hypothesis about some natural repellent. The concept being that you sour the food source for the moles and the gophers, and then they move to another area. But that would be a natural and a non-chemical means of, and long-term means of getting rid of them, keeping them away.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, I know this is your day number one. I actually just attended a lecture this morning on the difference between voles and pocket gophers and the best ways to get rid of them from the Master Gardener Society here in the state. And so you really have to know whether you're dealing with pocket gophers or voles. Pocket gophers live and die underground, and so there's no harm that can come if you poison them. And I know Clay is opposed to that, as am I. Voles are a little bit more difficult to get rid of, and poisoning the soil or poisoning their food source, as Don suggests. There are several options out there. However, they're restricted to, you have to have an applicator license. It's like 2% zinc phosphide. So Clay's idea of trapping them is a good one if we could. So, and you can't poison voles because voles will die above ground, and then they poison the things that eat them, eagles, birds, whoever. So just to keep that in mind. And voles don't really eat roots so much. They eat up the sides of the tree. So I'm not saying that the voles couldn't have killed the trees. They certainly could have. But they do it by girdling the trees more than eating the roots. So that's the information I gleaned just this morning.
Well, I think the obvious damage they can do to the parks make them high on the priority list, and probably easy thing for us to make some recommendations to the board.
Yes.
I did notice at the last Board of Trustee meeting, if we talk about specifically the recommendations that we made about the ISTAM and what to do about it, I feel like we made one recommendation with not very many options, and I noticed that perhaps when we're making our recommendations, we present a couple of alternates so that the Board of Trustees have some options. So maybe in this example, we make a recommendation for live traps, but then we're also given an alternate on a pest control company that could put out some kind of abatement or something else. I feel like we left them with only our one recommendation, and then we didn't get a satisfactory answer because we didn't provide enough information. So I think we'll try to be more thoughtful about where we're recommending to them. So next on the list is bear-proof trash cans, and the number 3 there. Did you have specific locations in mind, Clay?
Along where the hikers are parking. We need some in front of the church, probably in the park by the tennis court park there would be one. There's 2 down at the lake, and then maybe another one over on the upper end of the Olathe, where on the other side of the road going out of town, where people park. We just need to place them where the bulk of the parking is going to be, so they have a place to throw their trash. Because where all the hikers are parking, we have no trash cans, or not as many as we need.
I absolutely agree. I hate seeing trash around town. I think there are things in the work that we need to be considerate of. If the virtual trailhead is happening, then we have one place where we're collecting trash, and that probably mitigates part of the problem. You know, are we looking for standardized trash cans so that everything is the same in town? But definitely, you know, trash, a big complaint last year with all the hikers, something high on our priority list. Are there any other comments about that?
I like the bear-proof trash cans that we have. I think we should probably stick with what's been useful.
Absolutely.
Also, Joe Olds suggested we put trash cans by where they have the doggy poop stations, because people will frequently throw, you know, like bottles and cans in there instead of just what they're made for. So we might want to consider a few in those locations as well.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll dig deeper into these once I think they're on the priority list, but I wanted to talk through them all today.
Okay.
So so Porta-Johns, what do we want to talk about there?
Well, I think we have to have we really need Porta-Johns in town for the hikers that are going to be coming, especially next summer. Until we can get some of the new projects that you're working on, Jesse, where there will be more toilets, or the town can get some permanent toilets, our only choice is Porta-John.
Yes, in several locations.
Exactly. I mean, the town finally brought some in at the end of the year and put down by the defunct one at the end of Lake Street. But I think it's something that we need here more often. I mean, I see from where I live, I see people walking over to your parking lot over here, Jesse, fairly regular to relieve themselves when they're down at the end of the lake where the one is closed down. So porta potties are going to be a problem. We need to keep them there year round. We're getting more people here all the time now, and we have no place for them to go.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, it sounds like that will be high on our priority list. Because I agree fully, of course. You know, the restroom facility that we're building up on Red Devil Mountain, you know, is really only going to help folks that are hiking on Red Devil Mountain. So I think a lot of interest. I'm very interested to see what happens with the idea of the virtual trailhead and having a centralized check-in for hikers and a place to go to the restroom and a place for garbage. I think in so many aspects of what we're hearing in the parking and signage committee and the board of trustees meetings that these are all problems that can be universally solved with this virtual trailhead.
Jesse, I don't want to interject too much, but the virtual trailhead would be, there would be a reminder of how to connect with the town and how the town maps work together. Is that the way that's supposed to function?
Well, and I think, in my understanding, may be a little bit incorrect, and Matt is probably a little bit more even tuned in, and Deani certainly. Virtual trailhead sort of meaning two things. When the survey was out from John Kane about consolidating trailheads, his intent in that was to have one check-in location or a main check-in where you as a hiker could, park at Joyland, walk to wherever this virtual trailhead is, meaning it's not the actual trailhead for every trail, but it's a check-in facility. You'd have a place to go to the restroom, a place to engage with a trails ambassador, and be given some instructions about how to get to the falls or how to get to these places. So, I know that's in discussion. I don't want to steer every solution to that in case it doesn't happen, but it seems like a really good idea, and it seems like our group should be recommending that and should be looking for ways to try to make that happen. I think it solves a lot of the problems on this list, to have a universal place for hikers to get educated, go to the restroom, drop their trash. So that's sort of the way that I'm seeing it. I know there's been discussion about that happening maybe at Pool Park, where that sort of is a central location to get to most of the trails. And is anyone else hearing about that? Deani, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. Even with the trail ambassadors trying to come up with a centralized location to keep maps and supplies for the ambassadors to use, I had been thinking, potentially just having a box over at in front of the pool. I know that there were some issues with the pool in terms of winterization and the costs of, of reopening that facility. And so that's something that I think the trustees will have to talk about. But yeah, I think that's, it sounds like that would be an ideal location for a hiker welcome center, essentially.
So that we sort of went way around on Porta-Johns and went through that whole thing, but I think it's great because it addresses so many of those. So thank you and Deani, please step in anytime you feel like we're going in a direction that you don't feel the board is going, because we don't want to waste any time here.
I just think that, if you have strong recommendations like, ideas about what you envision a welcome center to be like, having those on a proposal as a recommendation from the committee would help the trustees quite a bit. I think as we're trying to navigate some of the different options.
Okay, thank you for that. So item number 17 is creating CAD drawings of town to design and document all projects. Again, Matt, is this something that the town is already working with Nate on doing?
I was just about to say, Nathan Scott dropped by and downloaded all of our GIS data the other day and is working on detailed maps with the Fire Mitigation Committee. So there might be some collaboration we could do between the FMC and the PRT on this particular item.
great. I think, that'll be important when we look at map making, which is, got to be at the top of our list so that we're ready for the hiking season. So item 18, clean up Fountain Creek and remove willows along the bank. Reviving the old horse trail behind the swings in Gazebo Park. Clay, do you want to talk through?
It's just a project that had been talked about, and right now the willows have just grown up and completely taken over the creek down there, and we have the beautiful lake there. If all of those willows were cut down and the bigger ones left and just clean that area up, it would make it so people could access the stream down there with the lake on one side and the creek. It would really be a nice improvement to the park. Plus, there's an old horse trail that goes through there. We could, once we clean that up, it would be easy to access the new trail going up to Red Devil Mountain. Just a project to try to improve our parks. Nothing that I see as real critical as far as high on importance, just something that would be nice to get done.
Yes, so maybe we view that, I know that some years we have work days where we, I've been out with the mayor picking up garbage around town. I know we have Creek Week, so maybe we could come up with a list of projects that are involved, like a workday project list where we came up with 5 projects that we wanted to focus on through the year, and with some community support, knock some projects like that out.
Yeah, that's what I see that project as being, something that's done with volunteers on a workday. No cost to the town, just volunteer help.
Yeah, I think those are great things for us to come up with and make suggestions on, because we can get a lot done ourselves for free.
When we're putting this list together, Rebecca, I think we should put one of them under workday projects done by the town, keep them
Okay.
separated out.
Okay.
The next on the list then is paint and repair Old Town History sign. Which sign is that, Clay?
Oh, right behind the post office where the old town hall used to be, they had a big sign that's just in total disrepair.
Yeah.
It fell over once, I put it back up. But there again, that would just be another project that, if it's gonna go away, if we don't do something with it, and it was a nice little sign that they had up there talking about the old town hall.
Yeah, and I have noticed too that one's in poor repair, so and it's important. So yeah, let's definitely have that on our list, and let's also let's make sure that I'm on the parking and signage committee, so I'll make sure that we have that one on the inventory list as an important one to be either repaired or replaced, depending on what they decide to do, whatever the design is. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, Matt?
Yes.
So any other comments on that? I guess I haven't seen that inventory of signs. It would probably be good to see that, Matt, if you could get your hands on it, so that we could sort of go around and make sure that there's not anything like that one missing. That's a pretty important historical sign that is out of the way.
I'll look into this. Admittedly, I don't know anything about this, so I'll have to ask around and get some info and report back to you guys.
Okay. So then, do you want to talk about item 20, Clay?
Add rocks along the creek. The Conn Memorial Trail it's flooded a couple of times, and the creeks came out of the banks and sort of eroded out some trail. It would be just a trail maintenance issue, but it is right in town. A lot of people walk along there. There again, that would be, I think, something that we could put down either with our trail maintenance or just be completed in a workday. Just trail maintenance is what that would be under.
I know where that trail is, but I don't know where it starts and ends.
It basically runs from the post office to the pool park along on the other side of the church, right behind the upholstery shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little short trail there that borders Malcolm and Dorothy Hart Kahn's property that they don't own it. Actually, the trail, one piece of the trail is on the property owned by the upholstery shop, Deanna,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe one little corner of the trail is on the Kahn property, but most of the trail is on the city-owned property.
Okay.
Rebecca has her hand up, by the way. I don't know if you guys heard that last bit. I might have been muted.
Yes, I would like to bring up along the same lines with the Kahn Memorial Trail is all of the trails in town need some sort of maintenance. And I think that we need to come to some kind of agreement with the Friends of Ute Pass Trails to be able to work on trails that need updated and maintained so that they don't become unsafe. And, you know, Kahn Memorial Trail is one that they have worked on in the past.
So I think that is an interesting point that's been raised several times since our group was formed was we have the Friends of the Ute Pass Trails Committee who have the experience and the desire to maintain these trails. And so I think, and I'll take this on as a project to get with the town manager to find out what can that relationship look like? What kind of waivers are needed? You know, how are expenses distributed in that situation? I think it's critical that we find a way to work with this group of people that has the experience and the knowledge and the desire to upkeep these trails.
Rebecca, you had come up with $4,000. Wasn't that didn't you come up with that price earlier on that they had said was the trail? Okay.
Yes, you're correct, Clay. They said that they thought that would be the price needed to continue working on the trails. But again, that was without any discussion with the town manager, and maybe there is a more favorable amount of money that would work if they could be covered under, you know, the town's insurance or something. I don't know, but that would be something that needed worked out.
Yeah, I think the mechanics of how we ask the group to work and you know, whose insurance covers who and what kind of liability waivers are in place. I think that's something that I can talk through with the town manager, and we can come up with a way. But I realize that needs to happen sooner than later.
Thank you, Jesse. I agree.
So I'll put that one on my list, and certainly though it can be one of our goals as you're working through the goals list.
I just wanted to note also that that 4K number is also directly from the 2021 proposed budget that was approved.
Right. So Jay, I'll circle back and see if there is anything else that we want to add to this list. But Jay, I'll ask you, if you don't mind, are you very familiar with the comprehensive plan
I am generally familiar with it. I remember the meetings that were put together to start the process. I haven't looked at the finished document in some time, so I won't claim, I can't claim familiarity, but I can get there relatively quickly.
Okay. If
What are you thinking of?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I believe that's available on the town website. And if
Sure.
you would review that against our list of goals and priorities that we've gone through here, and see if there are any glaring omissions or contradictions.
Yeah, okay, that'll be fine. That's a good way to affect that familiarization that I said I needed to do. Good point.
Great. I
I
feel
think-
really good about that, Jay. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I'll get back to that. What I'll do, Jesse, is do this over the coming weekend and get back to you like Monday time, probably.
Okay. And then I will, these sunshine laws really confuse me, Matt. But so Jay will get back with me on that, and then I will get with Rebecca and see if there's any additions or omissions to the list that we're sort of all working on here.
Yeah. I again, not familiar with some of the regulations. I'll just send any commentary to the whole group.
Yeah.
Would that be more appropriate?
In the way you do it, I think is kind of where we have to focus. There's some funky laws with open meetings in Colorado where if you send an email to a group and you have multiple replies, or they all interact with one another, it could be construed as a quasi-public meeting, or you're talking about stuff going on that should be in a board meeting or in a committee meeting instead of behind closed doors or via email. So the trick, you could send emails to everybody if you BCC everybody, and then do individual replies. But see, that's still like the nature of what you're talking about has to be public. So if let me try and rephrase that. If it's something that the PRT has to action, it needs to be discussed publicly. I can't give you a list of every single thing because it's case by case.
Okay.
But generally
Yeah,
speaking, if it's a public thing.
Okay. I guess the best way to do this would be I will save any general communication for the next PRT meeting when I'm legal on the PRT.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because until the trustees meeting, I'm not technically part of your group. I'm just offering commentary as a citizen. So I can speak directly to Jesse because I'm not part of the group at this point. Okay.
I'd be careful with it. Yes. Yeah. In general, yes.
Yeah. Very narrow window there. Good. Got it.
Yeah, Matt, we're really going to rely on you to not let us make a mistake on this.
Oh, cool. No pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So anything else that we need to add to this list before we hand it off to Rebecca and Clay to summarize for us? Did we lose Don? There he is. Anything to add here, Don?
I think we have plenty to work with here.
I do too. I do too. It's a pretty impressive list, and some of them are going to take a lot of work. So I think I'll be interested to see how we prioritize it. Matt, can we go back to the agenda? So currently in old business, we just went through item A. Item B is the tree removal bid. Did everyone have a chance to review that? I know Matt's pulling it up here. Clay, what are your thoughts here?
The only thought that I have there is for the refuge disposal, if they're charging to haul away all of that, all of those logs, I'm sure there are a lot of town residents would like that wood for firewood.
Mhm.
If there's any way that they would cut the trees down, block the woods up and leave the large logs laying, and then take away all the slash and the mess and just leave it for town residents that want the wood. Because there's a lot of wood in those trees that the town residents could be burning instead of paying them to haul it away. That's my only thought on the bid.
That makes a lot of sense. So with our, well, who else has comments on this?
I like the idea, Clay.
Would the logs be left on site or would they be relocated to one out of the way area?
Leave them right where they cut them down. If they want the wood, they're gonna have to work a little bit to get it. If it's already there, down and cut, I think people would jump all over getting some free wood right here in town.
Didn't we have a situation like that at the pool?
That was for slash and branches that you can chop up with a chipper. You know, there's gonna be slash off of these trees, small branches and the pine needles and just the small stuff. I'm talking the big logs. Have them clean up all of the small stuff, but leave the big logs.
Oh, we did have big logs piled up at the pool. Don is correct. People were coming and taking them away.
Oh, okay. I wasn't familiar with that.
Yeah.
So
I think
maybe,
we had,
so
I think
maybe
we had
our-
a, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so maybe our recommendation to the Board of Trustees is to allow us to use the parking lot at the pool for that. I do remember that being in place also, and people coming to get that wood.
I just remember there were some complaints about it. That's why I thought maybe if there was a location we could put it that was out of public view, might be better.
Well, if we have to load all the logs up and relocate them, we're sort of defeating the purpose of trying to save some money on the bid by not having to have the tree guys load them in the truck. That's a lot of work, loading up all that wood, as opposed to just cutting it down where it hits the ground, cutting it up in small pieces and leaving it lay there and then let the people that want it. That was the reason. I mean, we're trying to save some money here. So that
Understand.
was my reason of just leaving the wood where it was.
Matt,
The town could make that decision.
Well, I was going to say, I think this might be one of those examples of where we could pursue options, perhaps present both the option of leaving it and removing it to the board and let them choose.
yeah, I
There
agree.
you go. That's a good idea.
Any other comments on this, or does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we submit this to the town for approval and add the caveat that try to make the wood accessible to town residents for firewood and seek a reduction in the estimate amount for that.
I'll second.
I agree.
I'm in favor also. So Matt, will you accept that as a motion and a vote?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to feel everybody out. We can be sort of informal in voting, but I just on Zoom, if we could do like all in favor and aye or something like that, just so
Okay.
it's clear.
Okay, all in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next on the list is sort of the same thing where we have discussed goose mitigation. I submitted this Rebecca, would you like to start with your thoughts on this?
Let me see. I think that's an excellent idea. I love it. We need to continue with what has worked in the past.
It was very effective, and it was costing I believe it was costing the town about $1,500 per application. This is definitely a much more economical way to do it if the Board of Trustees, agrees to add this responsibility to Public Works.
I would make a motion to send the proposal the way it is. I like it too.
Yes,
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Any opposed? All right, Matt, you like how we're cooking now?
Just, yeah, we're cooking some good stuff here. I just had a quick question in relation to the motion. If I'm understanding it correctly, it's to direct town staff to purchase and apply seasonally?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, it to be apply as directed. It's a bi-weekly treatment.
Oh, okay. So just to make sure in the way that it'll be worded to the board, I'm reflecting that.
Okay. So next on the list.
Excuse me, Jesse.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it'd be wise that we put the directions on that motion, or the bid as it's submitted there? So there's no misunderstanding on the amount of labor it takes?
I do think that it would be, yes, I do, because if the Board of Trustees are going to commit to, spending manpower, they should know, what that is. Now, I don't know how much time it would take for Public Works to do Gazebo Park. I know that our person who applies it spends 20 minutes at Green Box spraying that lawn, and probably 20 minutes over at the shed. So my guesstimate would be that that's done at Gazebo Park in 2 hours bi-weekly. I think we could at least put that out there for some context.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt?
I would only push back a little bit in the sense that this is more of an advisory committee, and so directing the board how to direct the manager to direct Public Works is a bit out of our scope.
No, you're right.
And so we could provide information on what we estimate those things can be, but the only thing as far as I understand that we could really do is recommend that they do this. And so I don't know how the town manager would direct it, because she may change how the practicality of this could be a reality. But I don't want to take away from the fact that this is a great idea to get it to the board. So I think it'd be more along the lines of recommending the purchase of the product and an application, but with less specifics.
Well, I get that, but I think the more accurate information that we can give them as an advisory board, particularly, how much more can our staff take care of, time-wise, labor-wise, would be good if we can do it.
I completely agree with you on the information portion, but not on the direction portion. So yeah. I don't think it's in our committee's power to direct and tell them what to do, but we can recommend and share that it could be this many hours, this many applications, and so on.
Okay.
So if you'll just note that we had a discussion and estimated 2 hours bi-weekly to apply the product for the season.
Got the note here. I can do that.
What do we have up next?
Backflows.
So while Matt is pulling that up, I did talk to Tony at Peak Plumbing, who's the owner there. He gave us this estimate. I think all the information is here. That's, definitely, and I think it's clear here. That is to get the backflow preventer in. There will likely be some additional expenses to get the irrigation system back up and going, and to make sure that the main water supply to the backflow preventer is in good shape.
I think it's a good start.
And I would expect if the Board of Trustees, has questions, that this will come back to us and we can answer questions or work to get it installed. We'll see how that relationship goes and how things move back and forth between the groups. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we submit this for approval.
A second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So correspondence. Let's see, this is information only. We don't act on it, but that was a very nice grant application. It seemed to be very thorough. Does anyone have comments that they want to make?
I hope we get it. And I thank the people who took the time to write it.
Absolutely.
Seconded.
Yes, there was a lot of time and effort went into that proposal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope we get that, and that would really be a significant improvement to Gazebo Park, which is already amazing. Reports. Does anyone have anything they would like to report on? I have one item. I heard Matt and Deani at the end of the last Board of Trustees meeting that the town manager had set up a meeting with Colorado Springs Utilities and the Forestry Service to discuss potential trespasses and uses of the trail on their properties. And I would like to recommend or ask that a member of the Parks, Recs, and Trails Committee be able to join her for that meeting. I think that would be critical.
I like that idea.
So it was a meeting with the Forest Service and Colorado Springs Utilities, you had said?
I believe that's what I heard. It was at the very end of the meeting. But I definitely wanted our group to be represented there. I think that the topics being discussed are extremely relevant and are, well, they're sensitive and they're also specific. So we have members in our group, Dawn, Rebecca, and potentially Jay, once he gets approved, who are extremely knowledgeable about where the trails are. And I think that having their input at this meeting would be critical. I'm not sure. What I'm trying to say is I'm not sure if the town manager has been in some of these locations on the hiking trail, whereas I'm sure that these board members have. And so I think it would be critical to have them there to represent this group, or at least one of them.
What I can do is communicate this to Angie just directly. And what I'll do is if the chair likes this, I can include you as a CC on the email so you can see the correspondence and what the plan could be on who would want to be involved in this meeting.
That's great. Of those of you here, Dawn, Rebecca, and Jay. Is there a volunteer?
I would
Jesse,
certainly do it if no one else would want to.
Jesse, this is Clay. I put all of that information together. I've already given copies of the county websites, the assessor's office that shows every bit of that. I would be more than happy to sit there if I'm not too sided. If you don't think that I have too much history with some of the trail issues that we have before, but that we sent it out. The stuff that I'd sent out a while back has all of that information for Jay. If you wanted to look at some of that information, I'm sure that you haven't seen it yet, but.
Well, I do think that it would be most important for us to send our most unbiased and knowledgeable trail person to this meeting. So, and I believe I want to say it's May 8th, but that's just going from my memory, which is kind of shot.
Yeah.
But we'll soon have that information from Matt, and so I heard Rebecca volunteer. I heard Clay say that he's interested. Jay, I believe you're shaking your head yes.
Yeah, I'm not personally familiar with that meeting, but I know the trails fairly well. Rebecca has done a lot with the trails. I know Don has as well. I'll just follow in. I'll wait till I am officially a member, but I think you've got the right process. Having close commentary would be important in that process.
Yes. Dawn, I would like to have some of your input on this because of all of us, you seem to be the least biased. Would you consider this?
Yes, of course I would.
Excellent.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, the entire committee wants to attend the meeting?
No, we want
I'm
Dawn to
messing
attend.
So I just, because in the email that I want to send off to Angie, I give her an idea of who the planned attendee would be with Jesse CC'd. Is it Dawn or Clay? I was confused.
I'm too biased to be on that committee. I agree, or to be sitting in on that. I have my opinions and strong opinions, but I do know exactly where all the trails are and where they cross private property. And it's something that you're going to have to spend a lot of time to do the research that I have to have the information that I have sent to all of you already. So whoever's on that should make sure that they review that stuff that I've spent an awful lot of hours on researching.
And I assume that what happens at that meeting will be given back to us in the form of a problem to solve. And so I think having a representative there from the beginning just would be useful. So I don't think our entire committee needs to join the town manager for that, although I think several members would if she wants more than one. I think we'll just let her make that decision.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any other reports?
Nope.
I look to adjourn the meeting.
I'd like to make one comment.
Go ahead.
This is the best meeting we've had since the formation of our committee. I feel we've finally gotten into the meat of what we're supposed to be doing here. And it's, I'm glad, I'm really happy that we're moving forward and getting something accomplished. So
Hear, hear. I totally agree. I second that, Clay.
Thirded.
I'm happy about it too. Yeah. I'm
Good.
really- but I think we're starting to get some traction. We had something to work with on the agenda today. And so we all hate homework, but when it gets done, it moves things along. So thanks Jay for signing on to take on some homework and you're not even a member yet.
Right.
Okay.
Jesse, there's one other thing is that we need to agree on our regular meeting time. We postponed it because Don was not available and Jay was not a member. So could we do that before we adjourn?
Sure. So right now, so the Wednesday meeting at the same hour seemed to work well with Matt, who is on the clock and not required to work overtime for this meeting. It works well for me. Is there anyone that does not like this meeting time?
I can go with it.
Okay. Don, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
And do we stick with the third Wednesday? I don't see any reason not to.
I think we should until we get our project lists taken care of.
I was hoping to share a comment. As I'm getting more onboarded, I've only been here 2 months, so I'm still newish. The Fire Mitigation Committee meets on that Wednesday as well. They meet at 7, and so I'd go from
Right.
this meeting at 3 to their meeting at 7, but the fourth Wednesday is completely open for all of my meetings.
Ah,
And
I
so-
see.
It's almost like someone forgot to put it in his calendar on purpose. No, I would never do that. But I was gonna see if the fourth Wednesday would be popular, just or possible, so I might be able to space some stuff out a little bit. If
Certainly
not,
work-
I'll make it work.
Certainly works for me.
Yes.
Yeah, Deanna Lou, are you available for these as well?
So in general, I am. I do. I work in the hospital certain weeks, and so there may be weeks where I may be working, but I can certainly listen in or try to listen in as long as I'm available.
Well, it's certainly great to have you here with us and be able to ask a trustee member questions. So we appreciate you being here when you can.
Yeah, and I like hearing the meetings directly, so I can advocate for the direction that you all are going in. One recommendation that I would have is that if you are changing the meeting time officially, that we try and update the website so that the community can be in on that as well.
Oh, good idea.
So I make a motion that we establish a new meeting time, 3 p.m. on the fourth Wednesday of each month.
Is there a second?
I have a question there. Are we gonna schedule the second meeting? I mean, like right now, we were scheduled for the first and the third week. So if we go to the fourth week, when are we gonna have it if we need a second meeting?
Whenever.
I thought we had the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday. So the first Wednesday is still open for me if we want to just keep that the way it is. We would have a meeting plan then for next week.
Yeah, I would say if we're going to do the fourth Wednesday, we should do the second and the fourth so that we don't have back-to-back meeting weeks.
I agree.
I just got to double check the other committees real quick from my schedule.
I hope we get to a point where we're not having to meet bi-weekly, but while we're getting through this prioritizing our goals and also getting ready for the hiking season to start, I feel like it's around the corner and we don't have maps.
I agree.
It's really, I think that meeting bi-weekly is a good thing for now.
Would that second Wednesday also be at 3 o'clock?
I would certainly be in favor of that if Matt is available.
What was the date again, Rebecca?
The second Wednesday of the month. I'm not sure what the date is.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry. Looks like the second Wednesday is doable.
Okay.
So I will amend the motion that we meet the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month till further notice at 3 p.m.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
None.
So that's,
So our next meeting will be the second Wednesday of the month. And so it'll be
that's the 10th
2
of March.
from today.
Thank you.
And at that meeting, Matt, will we know the outcome of the Board of Trustees vote on J?
Yeah, they have their meeting on 3/2.
Okay. Well, we'll look for you at that meeting too then, Jay.
Yep. I just put it in on my work on.
All right, I always forget how to close a meeting, Matt. Do I have to have a motion to adjourn or just call it?
You can just adjourn it once all the agenda items have been taken care of.
All right, guys, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting and thanks for all the hard work today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me steer the ship for a minute.
Yay.
Hey, you're good, Jesse. I'll be talking to you over the week, by next week.
That's perfect. Appreciate it.
Take
Clay,
care,
when can you-
everybody, and I'll be
Clay,
calling or
don't
get,
leave yet. Clay, don't leave yet. When
Okay,
can the two of us
Rebecca.
get together to get this list?
sounds
When are
good.
you available? When are you available?
Pretty much any time. Do you want
So-
to get together tomorrow and have a phone call? Do you want to just have a phone call with the list in front of us?
I can't do, well, days tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow would be okay.
Okay. Pick a time.